then let's really try. Let's really try and join that movie, that game that's before us here, the still, vegetative, animate, speaking people, those close to me, those from the group that Abraham made, that's later on called the people of Israel, or other people and nations. Let's participate. Each one of us with himself, with what's outside of him meaning what he sees on the screens. Let us participate in it, and so that because it truly comes to us from this movie projected to us by the upper force, and we should relate to it this way. Now, this is what I see in anything outside of me, and also what's going on inside me. Because what's going on inside me, it also obligates me to relate differently every time to what's outside of me. So they got, this is the explanation they got from Abraham. Let's start relating to it the way our host actually wants us to, is expecting us. And Abraham taught us how to correctly relate to everything that's going on with the same thought, intention, like the one projecting the movie, the upper force. And by that, starting to understand that nature in total is the language of godliness of the upper force with man. And as a result of starting to reveal his language this way, they started to also reveal elements in how nature is, how it's built, and how it works in order to influence us. And then they discovered that it's by the good and bad forces and light and darkness. They revealed it themselves, and what is light and darkness and is not the light and darkness we see, but it's a good or bad attitude and so on. And as a result, they started discovering that the force of bestowal, the power of good, which entirely belongs to godliness, that in this bestowal there are 22 forms called letters, and another 5 additional letters. And in short, they taught these forms, and then they started using it, even though that the language that they used in ancient Babylon, both in writing and also in speech, was very similar to what they have discovered now, because this is actually their natural root. It was similar to the language that they used? Yes, because there was Aramaic, and here it's Hebrew. The letters are very similar, only that afterwards, when they have achieved it, they understood the true form of the letters, and also the laws of bestowal, what comes first, what comes next, what goes next to what, in terms of grammar, and by this they understood what are the laws of bestowal from above down, from below up. and the language was passed on to them. What does it mean that they received it or it was passed on to them? It's a revelation, meaning that as a result of learning how to be similar to the form which the Creator projects onto them, the higher force that projects onto them, they've learned from it how He projects, why, what for. In short, they learned His language. That each and everything that they saw, they understood its inner meaning, the goal in His bestow over them, and this is how they progressed. There's always this question, dispute: did the Creator pass the book of Moses on to Moses, or did Moses write it? It like fell from the heavens. You have a printer's shop there or something. This is one perception. Another, it's not a perception. It's a complete lack of perception. So the more realistic perception is that Moses wrote it. Whoever lived in those times wrote it. First of all, he didn't write it. There were people that sit and write. It's his students. Throughout the 40 years in the desert, this is what they wrote. And there's nothing about it that is beyond the normal world that we know, besides the addition of the upper force, which encompasses this world and controls nature, and it is called the force of the upper nature. Because He said that it was passed on to them, given to them. Passed on or given, it's attainment. I'm repeating it. It's not that it was given by some hand or something. I'm saying an upper force. Upper force has no... it doesn't have a process of passing out from one to the other. There's a hand that types and passes on to Moses page by page, or what? How can you imagine something like that? In a normal, natural way, necessarily, only that. And like we say about the forces of this world, we can talk about the upper force, that it is a force without a form, without something that you can really touch. So this is how, and because we got to know this upper force, its influence, its purpose, and so on, then it means that as a result, we became the nation of the book. Am HaSefel. Sefel, book, is a revelation. Like a book, it's like a source. Sefel, Sopel, Sipol, meaning book, author, story, through which we discover the one who wrote. Why did he write? What does he want? Do I identify with him or don't I? What's going on? Meaning the intention is that if I live in this world and I don't see and don't know anything, then the book, for me, the Pentateuch, the Torah to begin with, it's what was given to us as the upper source, by which we can acknowledge the upper force. We have no contact with the upper force besides the Torah. And we have to understand that the Torah, it's not that it's printed in the book. Like I said, it's a program that has to be realized, like it says there, on the people of Israel. And it is realized on all the people of Israel from one generation to the next. And in each and every generation, if a person discovers this book, meaning he is correctly cleaved onto it, he wants through it to discover the Creator, then he gets this book not just as a story and not a story that happened somewhere in the past, but it's a story which is going on now, because there is no first and last in the Torah. And through this story, he can start acknowledging the upper force. And then the book becomes as the source of revelation. That is really the meaning of book.